Now, those latest comments on tariffs from Jamieson Greer and Donald Trump are making waves here at home today on Parliament Hill and with some premiers. The suggestion that any U.S.-Canada trade deal will include tariffs looms large as the Prime Minister is set to lead an overseas trade mission starting tomorrow. The CBC's Karina Roman joins me live from Ottawa. So, Karina, what kind of reaction are you seeing there to what we heard from Trump and Greer?
Well, not surprisingly, it has once again riled up Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He says that tariffs are a tax on Americans. He says it just leads to, tit-for-tat behavior that hurts everyone. He muses about tariffing or cutting off exports of the things that the U.S. needs from Canada, such as nickel, potash, aluminum, even road salt. And then he went on to say this. Have a listen.
It doesn't work, folks, when you have a protectionist government like President Trump. It fails every single time. Ronald Reagan is spinning in his grave right now, and it's not about protectionism. You can't unscramble an egg. You have to make the omelet larger and make both areas, both countries thrive and prosper. I call that the AmCan Fortress.
But in reaction on Parliament Hill, in some ways it's really a case of, well, it's nothing we haven't seen or heard before, that this is all known. Even the Jamieson Greer stuff, that wasn't actually news when you talk to the ministers on the Hill. Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne says the U.S. has been clear that they intend for there to be a price to have access to the U.S. market. Right now, that price for Canada is the lowest in the world. And of course, François-Philippe Champagne was asked, well, what price would Canada be willing to accept in its review of CUSMA in terms of access to the U.S. market? Of course, he wouldn't say, doesn't want to negotiate, that kind of thing in front of cameras, but says what we saw last night reinforces Canada's plan to build domestically, to control what Canada can control. And that's what we heard as well from Industry Minister Mélanie Joly in terms of what we can control here in Canada. Have a listen.
We take good note of what President Trump mentioned last night. I've been engaged also with many companies, including obviously in the auto sector, and we now have a really good plan for dealing with auto, dealing with steel, dealing with aluminum, and also we have a new defense industrial strategy that will be able to create good jobs, particularly in the sectors that are impacted by the tariffs, and we see this strategy as an economic stimulus at a time of a trade war.
Now, the trade war is also seen as the major impetus for the Prime Minister and a whole team heading off on a big trade mission tomorrow. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the Prime Minister and a rather sizable delegation headed to India tomorrow, first Mumbai and then New Delhi, then onwards to Australia and Japan. Now, the focus is to expand economic and business relationships, to identify investment opportunities in Canada, create new partnerships. This comes on the heels of a very busy foreign trip circuit for the Prime Minister this year. Minister-wise, going with him to India is the Finance Minister, the Foreign Affairs Minister, the Defense Minister, and the International Trade Minister. Here is the Foreign Affairs Minister this morning.
That is one of the reasons why we are traveling to India in the coming days, tomorrow in fact, to continue the trade diversification and the building of our domestic economy, which is a very important part of our foreign policy as we double non-U.S. trade in the next 10 years.
Also, both the premiers of New Brunswick and Saskatchewan are going. Scott Moe joined the Prime Minister on his China trip recently, which resulted, as we know, in the elimination of some Chinese tariffs on key Canadian agricultural products. So Moe says there are high hopes for tangibles out of the India trip as well. Have a listen.
Therein lies the importance of these missions, engagement, not just with the U.S., but including the U.S., but engagement with other countries around the world, like on the mission that we're heading on now. If we're truly serious about diversifying the exports of additional products that we're going to produce in the years ahead away from the U.S., therein lies an opportunity.
Now, the delegation shrinks once they get to the Australia and the Japanese portions of the trip. But joining the Prime Minister on all portions of this trip is none other than, well, in addition to the Minister of Defence, is none other than newly minted Liberal and floor crosser Matt Jeneroux, in his role as Special Advisor on Economic and Security Partnerships. So he will be on the entire trip with the Prime Minister. And this morning, or actually I should say early this afternoon, he stopped for reporters for the first time since crossing the floor. Have a listen.
Travel has an aggressive agenda around the world, and he's asked me to help him in supporting that. So that's absolutely what I'm going to do. And I think we'll wait and see kind of what comes out of the trip.
Jeneroux was also asked, Andrew, about how his former Conservative colleagues are treating him now that he has joined the Liberals. He says he has no bad words to say about them, that many are still friends, some even still texting him, and that doing what he did was a very difficult decision to make.
Karina, thank you. The CBC's Karina Roman live in Ottawa.